Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm going to do an in-depth comparison between two cameras. Firstly, the Canon 70D and also the brand new Canon 80D. Make sure to subscribe as I'm going to be giving away either a Canon 80D or a Sony a6300 to a subscriber. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure to check out my top 10 list of the best prime lenses for under $150. I go into a lot of detail explaining which ones would be good for you and why. I'll put a link in the description box below. Anyway, let's compare these two DSLRs. So to start off this comparison, I want to first take a look at the build quality of both of these cameras. Overall, the body itself hasn't changed a lot, and to me that's a good thing. Its weight's still in that kind of sweet spot for a DSLR. It's not too heavy, and it's also not too light. There are a few subtle changes on the camera though that I wasn't really expecting, and I'll show you these now. On the back, now your cue, play and trash button are now round and they're a little bit more pronounced. Now it's not a big deal, but I've enjoyed the change. Now another big change is on the side of the camera right here. As you can see, Canon have now moved things around so that they could make way for a nice new feature. And that's a headphone jack, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But overall, the build quality is very similar, and if you've used a Canon 70D, you'll feel right at home with the new Canon 80D. But because of those changes, I'm going to say the winner here is the Canon 80D. Now another change that I wasn't really expecting was an update to the menu system on the 80D. So Canon has kept the same menu system through their lower level cameras for many years now, so seeing this change was a nice surprise. As you can see, the 80D is using a tab menu system now, and I've got to say I really like it. It's a lot neater and there's a lot more space between the options now, so it's a nice change. Another change to the 70D and the new 80D is an increase in viewfinder coverage. Whereas on the old 70D we had 98% coverage, the 80D's finally got 100% coverage, which is great. To be totally honest, it's not a huge change for me, but if you do use the viewfinder a lot to compose your image, you'll definitely notice the difference. Now the Canon 70D a few years ago was one of the first to include Wi-Fi in its body. And to be totally honest, apart from the first few weeks which I had the camera, I didn't actually use the Wi-Fi that much because it was a little bit cumbersome in setting it up. The 80D's also got Wi-Fi now, and it has a new addition, and that's NFC or near field communication. Essentially what this allows you to do is hold your mobile phone close to the camera and it will help you set up the connection. Unfortunately, I'm still using an iPhone 5S which doesn't have NFC built into it. But if you've got an Android phone, most of them have NFC built into them now, so all you need to do is tap it onto the camera and you should get a Wi-Fi connection. So it's a nice upgrade. So the 80D now has 45 cross-type autofocus points compared to just 17 on the old 70D. I found it to be a decent upgrade, and I've definitely found the wider coverage area to be useful when taking photos, especially action photos. But to be totally honest, I didn't actually find it to be that big of a performance upgrade. And it's probably because I've been testing out the Sony a6300 for the last few weeks and I've been a little bit spoiled. This has got over 400 autofocus points and it's a real winner, especially for stills photography. But both the 70D and the 80D do work pretty well for autofocus in stills, but if you are going to be shooting sports and you need that faster and wider autofocus area, definitely check out the 80D. Now a few years ago, the Canon 70D really changed the DSLR video market with its very impressive dual pixel autofocusing system. And I'm happy to say that the new Canon 80D's dual pixel autofocusing system's just as good, if not quite a lot better. Now, it's actually not leaps and bounds quicker in terms of speed, which is actually a good thing because I kind of like the cinematic speed that the Canon 70D used to focus. One area though that I did find that the Canon 80D was better though is in low light autofocusing, which is something that the Canon 70D used to struggle a little bit with. So if you know that you're going to be shooting in low light and you're going to be wanting to use the autofocus, definitely look towards the 80D. And one other thing, the Canon 80D can now also record 1080p footage in 60 frames per second. And it's actually quite a nice upgrade and the footage looks pretty good. Now I actually made a video testing it out, so if you want to check it out and see how that 60 frames per second footage looks, I'll put a link somewhere right here and you can check it out for yourself. Now like I said at the start of this video, one of the big new changes to the 80D and one that I was really happy to see is the inclusion of a new headphone jack finally. Now if you don't do a lot of video work, this might not seem like a big deal, but if you do any video, you'll know just how critical this addition is. Apart from some of the top-end Canon DSLRs like the 5D, most of the cameras from Canon have been missing a headphone jack. It's finally great to be able to listen to the audio that you're actually recording rather than just relying on the levels on your LCD screen. So my take on this is that if you're going to be shooting any video and you're really interested in getting the best sound, I'd absolutely go for the Canon 80D. The inclusion of the headphone jack is worth the upgrade alone. Now both the Canon 70D and the 80D both have a burst rate of 7 frames per second, so there's no real difference here. If you want to hear how they sound, this is the 70D and now the 80D. But one thing that I didn't mention is that the buffer rate on the Canon 80D has been increased. So if you know you're going to be taking a lot of photos and you're going to need a lot of photos in succession, definitely check out the 80D. So one big thing that a lot of people will be looking at and should be looking at is the price and value for money of these two cameras. So the Canon 70D is currently selling for around $999 on Amazon at the moment, which is great value. And I'm sure the price will keep going down as the 80D starts to take over. The 80D on the other hand is selling for just under $1,200. I actually think this is a very competitive price. Is it worth the extra $200? Well, to me, absolutely. The improved autofocus, better viewfinder, and headphone jack alone are worth it. So overall, I found it to be a nice little upgrade, the Canon 80D. Now, both of these cameras are fantastic, and if you've got a Canon 70D, don't feel too bad, it's still a fantastic camera. But if you are going to be choosing between the two, that $200 difference isn't that much, and I'd definitely be looking to get the Canon 80D. Now make sure to subscribe to go into the draw to win either a Canon 80D or a Sony a6300, and definitely check out my top 10 list of the best prime lenses for under $150. Put a link in the description box below. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time. Bye.